Welcome to The American Story. Stories about all the things that make America the country we know and love. The American Story podcast is made possible through listener donations. You can simply visit our website at theamericanstorypodcast.org and click Donate. That's theamericanstorypodcast.org. Thanks to all of you in the land of the free who have given generously so that we can produce more stories and reach more listeners. This is Chris Flannery with the Claremont Institute. I call this one, Mother of Exiles. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. These are among the most world-famous lines of any work of American literature, and whoever hears or reads them identifies them immediately with the most famous statue in America. But that is usually where the familiarity ends. Many serendipities would be needed before these lines would come not just to be identified with the statue, but to be inseparable from it in the eyes of the world. What Americans popularly call the Statue of Liberty, the French creator of the statue had called Liberty Enlightening the World. It was to be a monumental gift of friendship from the people of France to the people of America, to commemorate the centennial of the Declaration of Independence and raise before the whole world the universal cause of liberty that bound France and America together. The statue was financed by the French people, and the American people were to provide the pedestal. This is where these famous lines come into the story. In late 1883, a friend asked the successful and even prominent young author, translator, and poet Emma Lazarus to write a poem for an art and literary auction to raise funds for the pedestal. Many other well-known writers and artists, including Henry James and Mark Twain, were contributing. She initially hesitated to write a poem on order, but her friend persisted. She knew that Lazarus was greatly concerned with the persecution of Jews in Russia and Eastern Europe, and had been working for years to help Jewish immigrants and refugees in New York. Lazarus herself was descended from Sephardic Jews who had come to America several generations ago. Her friend reminded the poet that the immigrants and refugees she cared so much about would sail past this statue when arriving in America. It would be their first glimpse of their new home. A few days later, she submitted her poem. It is a 14-line Petrarchan sonnet titled The New Colossus. The first 8 lines draw a stark contrast between this new Colossus and the old Colossus of Rhodes, a great bronze monument to the sun god, said in antiquity to be one of the 7 wonders of the world. The old Colossus glorified conquering power. The new Colossus raised a lamp offering worldwide welcome, and her name would be Mother of Exiles. In the last 6 lines of the sonnet, the Mother of Exiles speaks her famous words through silent lips. The auction was held on December 3, 1883, at the National Academy of Design. The poem was read aloud at the formal affair, published in newspapers, and praised by no less an authority than James Russell Lowell. The pedestal was eventually completed. The statue, in hundreds of pieces, was shipped across the Atlantic, and on October 28, 1886, with President Grover Cleveland presiding at the ceremony, Liberty Enlightening the World was formally dedicated, without mention of Emma Lazarus' poem. A year after that, she died at the young age of 38, her poem already largely forgotten. Then, in ways no one could have foreseen, the poem was resurrected from the annals of obscurity and began to take on the new life now so familiar to the world. In 1903, 17 years after the statue was dedicated, another friend, Georgina Schuyler, a great-granddaughter of Alexander Hamilton, succeeded in a campaign to have the poem mounted on a bronze plaque and put in the inner wall of the pedestal of the statue. Still, the decades rolled on, and few paid attention to it. Refugees from Hitler's Europe made it newly relevant. Around 200,000 European refugees, most of them Jewish, immigrated to the United States between 1933 and 1945. A Slovenian immigrant named Louis Adamic, who had come to America as a 15-year-old in 1913, made himself a one-man promotion team for the poem. Another immigrant, director Billy Wilder, arranged for the poem to be read in his 1941 film Hold Back the Dawn. In his wartime film Saboteur, Alfred Hitchcock, who would become an American in 1955, has his heroine, standing in the crown of the statue, recite the famous lines to an enemy agent. By the time Russian Jewish immigrant Irving Berlin used the increasingly famous lines as lyrics in a song for a musical in 1949, the poem and the Statue of Liberty had become inseparable. To the statue conceived in liberty, Emma Lazarus had given a new birth of freedom. The statue became not just liberty enlightening the world, but mother of exiles. The light of liberty would be the light of home. Thanks for being part of the American Story. This is Chris Flannery with the Claremont Institute. I encourage you to visit our website, theamericanstorypodcast.org, to learn more about these stories and how you might support them. That's theamericanstorypodcast.org.